Hi BookTube, it's Missy, and today I'm here to share with you guys my July wrap up for 2017. And look at how many books I read this month. Oh yeah, I am so excited. If you guys have been around for a while, you will have known that from January through June, I have read on average maybe 6 books a month. That's like 3 to 4 novels and 2 graphic novels. This month I read 10 novels, 2 graphic novels, and I started 3 more books, which is so freaking exciting to me. Now, at the beginning of the year, I was reading 1 book a month. Not 1 book a month, but 1 book at a time. And that is not a very good way for me personally to read because I get distracted quite easily. And sometimes if a book gets boring, then I just put it down and then I don't want to pick it back up. But if I'm reading multiple books at one time, I'm getting little snippets of the story, so I never get bored and I never really get distracted because I'll read, say, 30 pages of a book, I'll put it down, read another book of 30 pages, put it down, and so forth. And then by the end of the week, I will have read 2 to 4 books depending on how many books I started with at the beginning. So that's what I did this month. I went back old school Missy and read multiple books at one time, and I was able to accomplish quite a lot. I do have to say BookTubeAthon helped as well, because without the BookTubeAthon and the buddy reads that I did this month, I don't think I would have read as many books. So let's get on with the actual reviews, because this is going to be semi-long. I'm going to try to do maybe 1 minute per book. The first book that I read in the month of July and finished on the 4th is The Tribulations of August Barton by Jennifer LeBlanc. Now, Jennifer has a YouTube channel. I will leave her channel link down below. I will also leave all of her other social media down below. Now, Jennifer sent this book to me, I think at the beginning of the year. It's been sitting on my shelves for a while, and the only reason why, and this is so bad, the only reason why I didn't pick this up sooner is because of this cover. I'm sorry, Jennifer. I gave this book 4.5 stars, 0.5 taken off because of this cover, and you're not supposed to judge books by their cover, but we are all shallow and we all do it. Now, this book is amazing. This is a little novella. It's so heartwarming and brilliant, and I wish I would have read it right away, and I wish I didn't even look at the cover. I wish I just picked it up and then read it. And when you get to the end and you see this scene and you realize, oh, this scene is the cover, it makes sense. It's very, it works because of that. But if you don't know what this scene means, then it's not very I want to read it. So hence the 0.5 knockoff of the book. So this book is about August Barton. Now, he is going into college for the first time. He's a freshman. He's super nerdy. He suffers from anxiety. His mom is getting divorced. His grandma, which the funniest thing about the whole book is his grandma is a used to be a prostitute, a very famous in their town prostitute, and now she's, you know, an elderly lady. She keeps running away from the nursing home. The mom and the grandma don't really get along very well, and there's a lot of deep-rooted resentment between the mom and the grandma. Now, the grandma obviously doesn't resent the daughter, but the daughter hates is a strong word. She's angry at her mom for the way she was raised, and grandma's not been around very often, and so August takes that and goes with it. He's like, well, you know, I didn't spend a lot of time with grandma growing up. I'm going to start spending time with grandma. And he finds out that grandma's a pretty cool chick. She's got lots of good advice. She helps him with his anxiety. She helps him with, you know, girls. She's like the life of the party when she comes to his college, which is a whole nother thing that was absolutely fantastic. And then there's this couple heartwarming scenes in this book that actually made me start crying. I'm sad because I'm a mom, and those kinds of like family feelings always make me a little teary. It was just so good. So it's a coming of age. I mean, he's already, you know, going into college, but he's learning how to deal with people on his own. He's never had a girlfriend before, so he's learning the ways of being with a lady and having friendships and, you know, just doing all these things. And it's just so beautiful. I cannot wait to read the second book in this trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. Her second book should be coming out hopefully at the end of the year. It is in works of being published. If you guys like a heartwarming, coming-of-age-esque type of story with a male protagonist, not only does he have a grandma that is, you know, an ex-prostitute, but our friend August here is going into college for genterology. I'm totally saying it wrong. The study of, you know, like senior citizens and how to make their quality of life better when they get older and they're in nursing homes and everything, which I thought was fascinating because you don't read about that a lot. And he does have anxiety, so that might be something that you can relate to if you also have anxiety. And I told you, this scene right here with the car made me cry so hard. Like, I feel like I'm gonna cry right now. This was such a good novella. Whew, that was too long. All right, the next book that I read was Drawing of the Three. This is book 2 of the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I was supposed to have this finished in June, but I wasn't able to, so I finished it in July. This was finished on the 9th, so I should have picked up the third book, but I didn't, and so I'm listening to it now, which is like a month behind, but oh well, such is life. This was amazing. I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I mean, yes, I usually give Stephen King books 4 to 5 stars because I love his writing so much, but this was excellent. Excellent. So my favorite thing of the entire book is the lobstrosities. And every time I was listening to this on audio and it kept saying, "Dirty chick, da chum, da chick," I would repeat that in my car. And I kept saying that like randomly throughout the day. Da chick, da chum, da chuck. I freaking love that part so much. Like, the lobstrosities are amazing, and I'm not going to tell you what they are. I mean, they're killer lobsters, but I can't, you know, explain what they did because that'll kind of spoil the book. In the last book, The Gunslinger, Roland ends up on a beach after having his fortune told by the man in black. Now, when we finally get to this book, Roland is still on the beach, and he is searching for these 3 doors that the man in black told him about. So we meet 3 different side characters in order to get to the Dark Tower. And just everything that he has to go through and the personalities and the way that he interacts with all these people are just fantastic. I just absolutely loved it. Now, this copy is the illustrated plum edition. I just purchased book 3 in this illustrated plum edition. Hopefully it comes in good condition. It did say good, but sometimes good is not good in my eyes. There's that one. Let me show you one more. Ooh, see, there's Detta Walker, and she's trying to bite him, so they had to tie her down because she was not being a good girl. Anyways, I just absolutely loved this book. Again, 5 stars. The third book that I read in the month of July is Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. This is the first book in the Hannibal Lecter series. My friend Keely over at A Bibliophile's Journey decided that she wanted to have a read-along the second week of July, and so we read the first 3 books during the month of July, and then for August we're going to read the last book this week. Anyways, the first book we meet Dr. Lecter, but it's a very short meeting. We only get a glimpse of him. Our main character of this story is named Will Graham. Now, he is an ex-detective that helped the FBI with criminal and psychological analysis on serial killers. He has a way of being able to read what they're going to do. He kind of gets in the mindset of a serial killer, and so he's like one of the experts on serial killers. So they always wanted him to help out with their investigations. Now, our main character, Graham, is right now retired. He's living in Florida. He doesn't want to do this anymore. Graham is contacted by an old colleague, Jack Crawford, and Jack is saying that he has a new serial killer on the loose, and he wants Graham to come back and help solve the case. He doesn't want to do any field work, meaning he's not going to go out and actually catch the killer. He just wants to have, him do his psychoanalysis on this serial killer and kind of find out what his thing is and how they could catch him. But of course, Graham is a professional and he needs to go through the process. So he does kind of get out there in the field, checking out the crime scenes and everything. And at one point, he's just stuck. He doesn't know where to go, and so he decides to go and talk to Hannibal Lecter and get his advice on the case. And then the story goes from there. So we do get that small glimpse of Hannibal Lecter when he goes to talk to him, but that's about it. Our serial killer is pretty gruesome. He kills families, but focuses on women. And yeah, really good villain. And so I gave this book 4 stars. The next book that I read and I finished on the 16th, the same day as Red Dragon, is Through the Shattered Looking Glass by M.L. Crane. I received this from Monica in the mail last month, and I had to immediately pick it up this month because it's an Alice in Wonderland retelling. Yes, it is. I absolutely love Alice in Wonderland. If you didn't know, I love this cover. I love the font. I love everything about this book. I love the feel of it. It's just brilliant. It's just great. I gave this book 4 stars. Now, our Alice here is an intern at a psychiatric hospital. She's also having trouble knowing if she's having bad dreams or she's hallucinating or what. She keeps having this shadowy figure in her nightmare. She has nightmares every night, and it's starting to manifest in her daily life, and she's starting to panic that she might be turning into the patients that she is working with. Maybe she's going crazy. Maybe she needs to be at the psychiatric hospital herself. She has 4 patients that she has to work with during this internship, and all 4 of them are reminiscent of Wonderland creatures. So that I really liked. But there's a twist in this book, which didn't happen, of course, until halfway through, that made me very excited. And I cannot wait to read more in this series. I can't really say much because it'll spoil the book itself. Just know that it is a great retelling. It is very dark. It is very twisted. It is very adult and graphic. There is a part in this there is a part in this book that gets very, very graphic. There's a little bit of kind of like torture, and if you don't like rape or underage like prostitution or that might be it. Just rape and underage prostitution. Those things might be triggering to you because there are some of those scenes in this book. Like I said, it's very adult, but it's so well written and totally worth the read. And I'm so happy Monica went there because some people would have been too shy to write how graphic some of these scenes are, and I really appreciated it, even though it was very like cringeworthy. Not in a bad way. I was just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Definitely worth the read. I absolutely loved this book. The next book that I read in July and finished on the 22nd is The Likeness by Tana French. This was a buddy read with the Maddie Hatter. I will leave her channel link down below. This is the second book in the Dublin Murder Squad. I don't know how many books there are in this series, but we did read Into the Woods together last year, and so we decided to pick this book up. It is fairly long. It is a great murder mystery. Our main character, Cassie, is from the first book. She was Rob's partner for the case that they were working on, and so it's nice to have a whole book of just her. And I think that's how it's going to go with all of the books in the series. They're going to pick a person from a previous book and then have them as the main character. That's what I'm hoping, at least. So we already had Rob in Into the Woods, and now we have Cassie. Now Cassie used to work way back in the day as an undercover agent, and she gets hurt during one of her cases that she's working on, and so she leaves undercover and goes to murder, and that's where we find her in the first book, Into the Woods. But at the end of that book, it just gets too much for her, and so in this book she's now in domestic violence, but she's starting to realize it's super boring, and it's very every day is the same. It's very repetitive. And one day she gets a call from Sam, who is a partner that she had in the previous book, and he goes, hey, can you come out to this crime scene? And she's like, you know, I don't work murder anymore. He goes, yeah, but I kind of want your opinion on the victim. I really need you to come out here. And when she gets there, she sees her old boss from undercover, and she's like, why are you here? And she finds out that, oh my gosh, the victim looks exactly like her. I mean, not super, I mean, it's identical, as in they could be twins. You know, some twins have just maybe a mole that's different, or their eyes might be slightly different. That's how Cassie is with our murder victim. And so she goes undercover to find out who the killer is. And I just thought it was great because it starts off, you know, Cassie is into doing her job correctly, and then in the middle she kind of is starting to her life is starting to blend, so she's starting to lose Cassie and she's starting to become the victim, and it's starting to get muddled, and she's liking where she's at. And she explains in the book that that's what happens to a lot of undercover cops, where they will go into a case and their lives start to blend, and then some lose themselves completely and they never come back. So she's starting to lose herself, and the boss is just like, what's wrong with you? Wake up, come back to reality. This is not actually your life. And the ending was it was good. There are two endings to this book. I mean, not really, I'm just saying there's two endings. The first ending was sweet. I actually liked it. I didn't know that was coming. I didn't see it coming at all. It just hit me in the face, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then the second ending could have not been in the book. I mean, it really didn't change anything. I guess if people like closure, then they'll like the ending, but I could have done without it. I kind of got the gist of what it was going to be towards the end, and so I didn't need that extra. It's just extra. I didn't need that part. But overall, I really did enjoy this book. I gave it 4 stars, and I cannot wait to pick up the third book. I can't remember what it's called right now. It's in my cart on Amazon, so I will be buying it soonish. I would like to continue buddy reading this with the Maddie Hatter, so we'll see when we'll pick it up next. The next book that I read for the month of July is Silence of the Lambs, the second book in the Hannibal Lecter series by Thomas Harris. Again, I buddy read this with Keely. This I finished the first day of the BookTubeAthon, so I read 88 pages of this book on the 24th. And this is the 25th anniversary edition. So it's got the French flaps, it's got deckled edges. I absolutely loved it. There's the back. Yeah, I love this. If you have seen this movie, it's pretty accurate. I haven't seen the movie in a very long time, which I'm going to remedy as soon as I finish Hannibal Rising. I'm going to watch all 4 movies. But this is pretty close to what I remember the movie being. Our main character in this book is Clarice Starling. She is an FBI trainee, so she's going to Quantico to become an FBI agent. She would really like to work in the behavioral science department. She really likes Jack Crawford, the head of the department, who we meet in the first book. Oh, she's top of the class. She's, really good academically, and she's one of the fastest shooters in the program, so that is going for her. Now, Jack Crawford has noticed her because he does know all the students that are coming up into the FBI, so she's been on his radar. But during his investigation of Buffalo Bill, which is our new serial killer in this book, he's kind of short-handed, and so he just plucks her out of class one day and says, hey, can you go talk to Dr. Lecter? No one else can get an interview with him. He won't speak to people. And if you can kind of talk to him, maybe he will then in turn talk about Buffalo Bill. Maybe we can get some insight on what Hannibal thinks of this new serial killer. So Clarice goes to the mental hospital where Hannibal Lecter is being held, and he actually talks to her. And then it goes from there. So we have Clarice as our main character. Of course, we have Jack Crawford as her teacher and mentor. And then we have Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter. Now, Buffalo Bill also kills women in this book. And he's very gross and super weird. And if you've seen the movie, you know he likes to skin the girls. So there's that going for him. I really like Buffalo Bill as a bad character. He's very all over the place. But yes, I thought that the book was fantastic. I liked how gung-ho Clarice is. She's naive and earnest in a good way. Like, she really believes in herself. She's got a lot of confidence, and it really shows in this book. So I really enjoyed that fact. 5 stars. The next book, which I finished on the same day as Silence of the Lambs. So I read 57 pages of The Summer That Melted Everything by Tiffany McDaniel. I finished this on the BookTubeAthon day 1 as well. Now, I already did a whole review on this book, so I will leave that video linked down below. Just know that I gave this book 4 stars. It is a contemporary about a 13-year-old black boy who comes to Breathed, Ohio, claiming to be the devil and the ramifications of that. This whole book was very emotional. I absolutely loved it. Again, my review will be down below. On to the BookTubeAthon books that I read for the month was Saga Volume 7. Now, I gave this, what did I give this? I gave this 4 stars. I read this as an extra for the BookTubeAthon because I had so many books that I wanted to read. But I did switch it up, and I said that this was for read a hyped book. The hyped book that I was supposed to finish was Into the Water, which I didn't really get to. So read a hyped book is now Saga. And there is a giant picture of a penis in here because there's a penis in every single Saga volume that I've read so far. So yeah, it's very adult, but now that I've said it, you're all gonna go run out and check out the penis. I know you are. This is an ongoing series. We have our two main characters here. We have the horns and the wings. And it's now 7 books in, so the baby is now 5. All the people in the galaxy are trying to hunt down these two because they are just abominations. You can't have a child with 2 enemy factions. It's just not allowed. And so we have bounty hunters going off trying to kill them. We have all these wars going on all these different planets. And these two are just trying to keep themselves safe and their child safe. I did like this for the most part. I gave it 4 stars. It was pretty sad at the end, and I was really looking forward to this book because volume 6 had a surprise ending, and I was super excited. And then we have the ending of 7, and I don't know how to feel anymore. I hope, you know, volume 8 is like 10 times better, and it makes me feel good again because, like I said, I felt so good at the end of volume 6, and then 7 comes around and it's just tragedy, and I was so upset. And yeah, so volume 8 better be better. Better be better. That you can't say that. That's 2 betters. I'm hoping that volume 8 is better. Next book that I read for the BookTubeAthon is another graphic novel, and that is the Gunslinger Born. This is the prequel, I want to say, to Gunslinger, the novel from Stephen King. Now, Stephen King is helping on these books. I think there are 13 of these graphic novels already written, I think. It only goes up to book 2. I really, really loved this. I gave it 5 stars. It doesn't say anywhere it's supposed to be the prequel to the Gunslinger, but I'm saying it is because I read the Gunslinger, and during the Gunslinger you have a tiny little portion of the book where Roland talks about his past as he is like a little kid and how he became a gunslinger. So we know that he, you know, was angry at Martin, and then he goes to court and says, I want to challenge you, and he wins. And then he gets his guns. So we know that from the first book. But then this comes around and it actually shows you, what happened after he won the battle with Court and what happened after that. And we meet Susan in the Gunslinger, but we don't know where she's from, and she's in this book. So I just loved the fact that we got to see Roland as a teenage boy, and we get to meet his friends Cuthbert and Alan, and again we get to meet Susan. So I really liked all of those. I put this for read a person on the cover. Again, I didn't get to finish some of the books that I had planned for the BookTubeAthon, so I had to rearrange some books for the challenges. So this is read a person on the cover. Really liked it. If you liked the Dark Tower series, I would definitely pick up these graphic novels. They're brilliant. The next book that I read during the BookTubeAthon is Eat the Sky, Drink the Ocean. Now, I didn't read this entire book during the BookTubeAthon. I read the majority of it because I did start this in June, I think. So I read, where did I write it? I read 171 pages of this book during the BookTubeAthon. This is a collection of short stories written by Australian and Indian authors. The majority of the stories, 16 of the stories, have a female protagonist. 1 story has a male protagonist. Some of them are written in, regular format. Some are written in graphic illustrated format, and there is 1 play in here. Now, during the BookTubeAthon, while I was vlogging, I mentioned how this book isn't really grabbing my interest and I don't really like any of the stories. But once I finished and completed the book and started writing my review, I realized out of 17 stories, I liked 8 of them. So that's half. So I gave this book 3.5 stars. I couldn't believe that I liked half of the stories. I forgot because the other ones were getting in the way. Now, like I said before in a previous video, when you pick up a collection of short stories, it's a hit and miss. Some people's writing won't be to your taste or your liking, and others will. The majority of the stories that I liked in here were sci-fi dystopian, because that's just a genre that I like. I didn't really like any of the illustrated drawings or stories because they just all seemed really strange. I've said this in every single wrap-up video that I've done since my channel started. I am a better writer than I am a speaker, and so all of these links to all of these reviews will be down below for my Goodreads page. But I will tell you what stories I liked from here and give you a little bit of a synopsis on each one. So my favorite story out of this book is Little Red Suit by Justine Larbalester. I have my review here. That is a sci-fi dystopian retelling of Little Red Riding Hood set in Australia. I thought that was fantastic. The next story that I really liked in this book is called Cooking Time by Anita Roy. Again, this is another sci-fi with a like time travel esque kind of thing in it, and it's about a conglomerate company that takes over everything from transportation to food to education to power to everything. It's called Agro Global, and they make a food substance that comes in tubes. It also comes in like 70 different flavors, and that's what people live off of. Nobody cooks anymore. There's no actual food, and that's what the story is based around, which I thought was fascinating. All right, the next story that I really liked was Cast Off, and this is by Samhita Arni, and this was a fantasy story about how males and females both can have magical powers. When it manifests, though, if girls show any sign of having magical powers, they are then sent off to sea to die. They're not allowed to have powers. So the parents really just want to have boys because boys can become magicians or whatever, and girls can't. And so yeah, there's this whole stigma on girls becoming magicians, and so again they're sent off to die in the ocean. And this story also has female pirates, and I thought that was brilliant. If the girls can live long enough on sea to be rescued, then they go to a mystical island that nobody knows where it's located. The men don't know where it is, and they live there and thrive. So yeah, really liked that story. The stories that I liked from this book all could become full-length novels that I would actually purchase and read, because I want to read a whole story of the good ones. All right, the next one I really liked was called What a Stone Can't Feel, and this is by Penny Rusin. This was a little weird. It's about a girl who's got a magical power, or a superpower if you want to call it that. She can turn into objects. She's not the object. She becomes one with the object. So she talks about this bowl. She's not the bowl, but she can like push her atoms, her energy, her entire self into the bowl and be surrounded by the bowl and become like the molecules of the bowl. And she loves that about herself, but also there's a different aspect to the story where she has a friend that's dying of cancer, and so you get to see this like superpower that she has that she doesn't really think is special, and then you have the dynamic of her trying to cope with her dying friend. So I like that one. All right, the next one is called Cool by Manjula. I'm going to mess up the last name, but it's Padmanabhan. And this is about a boy. This is the only boy story in the entire collection. And he is a spit rider, which means that he has to collect the debris from Saturn's rings and somehow fling it towards the Earth as a energy source. That's Earth's new energy source, is this spit from Saturn. I thought that was super fun to read. It's a sci-fi. There's also a little bit of love interest. He is in love with his virtual teacher. So I thought that was cute. Next three stories are all like heroic in nature. So we have Arctic Light, and that is about global warming, how we have a teenage Indian girl who goes up to the Arctic Circle to try to stop the Russians from drilling. She's part of a a peaceful protest, but she gets captured and is sent to prison for 8 months. I thought that was good because I totally believe in global warming. I liked one graphic novel. So it is called The Runners, and it's about a girl who has to save her cyborg brother from being murdered by the Amazons, which is a like a network of robotic flying objects that are being they're in charge of killing off males that know too much, because in this world it's a woman-run society. They're called the mothers, and so if you are male, you are part machine and you do labor-intensive work where the women don't do that. What I liked about this story was that the girl tried to save her brother from death. So that was sweet. And then the very, very last story is another heroic story about males and females. And this one is called Memory Lace. This is by Payal Dar. This lady right here. And it's about a girl who goes into a shop and buys like a male companion, and in this world the male companions that are bought usually end up marrying the women, but they are like enslaved to the woman. She owns them. So it's kind of like a reversal. Like in our society in 2017, our husbands don't necessarily own us anymore, but there is a piece of paper saying that we are married, that we're kind of like their property, or at least it was like that, you know, way back in the day where we were part of their property. And in this book, same thing. Men are now property of women, and the memory lace is just a piece of cloth that kind of shows all the information about that male woven into this piece of cloth, and our main character wants to set him free. She's giving him the choice. You can stay with me and be my companion husband if you want to, but if you don't want to, you may have your memory lace and be free, which I thought was so sweet, and it actually made me cry. It was nice seeing women in this book saving men, because I don't want it always to be the other way around, and I don't want to read stories where one gender is better than the other. Everyone should be loved and be equal. The next story that I read and finished during the BookTubeAthon is Hannibal by Thomas Harris. This is the third book in the Hannibal Lecter series. This is the longest book in this series. This was 514 pages long, and boy, was this book long. This is a little bit different than the other two books because of the style of writing. In the first two books, we have a main character. So we had Will Graham and we had Clarice Starling. We had a serial killer, which I can't remember the first guy's name, and then we had Buffalo Bill. And then we have Hannibal Lecter as a side character. In this book, it's more of a character-driven story rather than a crime-catching story, if that makes sense. So this is mostly about Hannibal Lecter and about Clarice Starling. We do have a serial killer who's a pedophile in this book, but he's kind of like the side story. Our main story is Hannibal Lecter, how he thinks, what he does, where he came from, why he is the way he is. Clarice Starling is trying to figure out where he is and to capture him because he has escaped. In the second book, he escapes. So in this book, she's trying to find out where he is. I didn't really like the ending. I thought it was very strange, but again, this is character driven, so maybe Thomas Harris was going somewhere with it. Yeah, so I gave this one also 4 stars. It was still really good and interesting, but it wasn't as good as the second book. And with this one, there is about 50 pages of Italy and a cop there that was really boring. And I read it all, but I just wanted to skip everything because it just didn't work for me. I just didn't have any interest whatsoever in Pazzo, I think that's his name, the detective in Italy. So I wish that was taken out of the book. That's why I dropped it half a point and then half a point from the ending, because that was just bizarre. Overall, though, I am loving this series. Again, I'm reading Hannibal Rising this week. And the very last book that I read during the BookTubeAthon is More Field School and the Mystery by Liam Moiser. This is his debut novel. It is a short middle grade. I gave this book 2.5 stars. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I did get this book in August of last year, and I was planning on reading it during Halloween time because it looks like it'd be like a creepy mystery, but it just wasn't a creepy mystery. It's a setup to a mystery, and that mystery ends up happening probably in books 2 and 3, but this is just an introduction to the characters. Now, this is a middle grade, and it's written like it's for middle grade kids. I know I have a lot of middle grade books on my shelves, but they'll have a higher vocabulary for middle grade, so, you know, a kid with a very good reading level could read those books, whereas this one, even a younger kid around, I'd say like 3rd, 4th grade could read this book and enjoy it because the vocabulary is very low, and there was lots of repetitive words in it that was, for me as a pet peeve, it just drove me crazy. So it wasn't scary, so it got knocked off a point because, you know, it says mystery, so I thought it was going to be a mystery. 2, the repetitious words knocked off a star. I really cannot stand repetitive words. And then 3, there was just the timeline was just so wonky. I had to reread some of the things in this book because I was trying to figure it out. There's a lot of timestamps in here, like so-and-so went to bed at this time. It took this long to get some places. And so mathematically, it didn't make any sense in my head. So we have 2 main characters. We have Samantha and Jessica. They both go to the Moorfield School in Manchester, and the school's closing down. It's a private school run by Miss Moore, but there has been several public schools made the last so many years, and so a lot of the kids are now going to public schools because it's free, and so Miss Moore can no longer fund the school and keep it open because, you know, she's losing students. Like, started off with like 2,000 kids, and now she's got like 80 or something. And so she decides that she's going to close the school down, but then has an epiphany, like, oh my gosh, maybe I should just move my school. So Miss Moore decides to move the school to Lakeview, which is in the country, and so Samantha and Jessica end up going there. Now, they do have a 3rd best friend, Laura, who stays behind because her mom already put her in the public school system, and so that's where she's going to go instead. So the girls go off for a camping trip to mingle with all of the kids before school starts. And we learned that the school is 100 miles away from their original area. So like Manchester is 100 miles away from Lakeview. But they say that the village only has a school that's 2 hours away. So this will be better. So I was confused about this new school is now closer to the village. Are they in walking distance? Because at some point in time they could walk to the village. So I was confused about that. And then the house that Samantha is moving into, it says that it is an hour away from the school itself, but then at another point it says it took over 2 hours to get from the house to the school. But then the kids swim across a lake to get to the house, and it took them 40 minutes to swim. So there was a lot of inconsistencies. You know what I mean? There was a lot of areas where I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And how can a child swim 40 minutes straight without drowning? Like, I couldn't swim for 40 minutes straight, and I'm an adult. Are these little professional swimmers? Like, there's even one kid, Tom, who doesn't like swimming, so I'm assuming he doesn't like it because he's not good at it, and yet he swam for 40 minutes. So I did talk to Liam in an email, and he did say, you know, he wrote this when he was younger. The things that were that I didn't like, he also didn't like, and so his other books have been improved. I am looking forward to reading his other books. I will pick them up. I like to give authors a chance, and because this is his first book, there is definitely room for improvement. Not everyone is, you know, Stephen King right off the bat. Overall, the story was okay. Like I said, it wasn't great, and there were a lot of things that I didn't find appealing, but you never know. The other ones could be bomb, and if I don't read the second and third books, I'll be missing out on a great story. And I do want to find out the mystery, like what's up with these trophies and everything. That is the start of the mystery. I want to know what the trophies are for. So yeah, that was the last book that I read during the BookTubeathon, and I did pick up these books during the BookTubeathon. So we have Into the Water. I read 54 pages of this, so I will be finishing this up hopefully this week. I also started the Rites of Azathoth. I read 192 pages of this. Really loving this story. I'm hoping to get this finished by Sunday. And the last book that I picked up during the BookTubeathon was The Crowns of Croswald. Now, I am currently on page... where is it? I'm currently on page 175, and I'm really loving this so far. It's kind of reminiscent of Harry Potter, and I say that only because Harry Potter is middle grade. Harry Potter is the first like fantasy story that I read for middle grade, and there's lots of similarities. So we have our main character who is a maid at this castle, and she doesn't know anything about the magical world. I mean, she knows that magic exists, but she's not a part of that. She's just a maid. And then one day she finds out that no, she is magical. She does have, she is part of this magical world. People have been looking for her. It's now time to go to this magical school. She gets picked up by this flying bus, which kind of reminded me of the Knight's Bus, where they pick up, you know, lost witches and wizards. So this bus comes and picks her up. She gets a school list of like cauldrons and stuff. And instead of wands in this book, they have quills, because the magic system is they can draw magic. And so there's a lot of similarities in like the magical aspect of the book. I am, however, really enjoying it. And of course, our main character is a girl instead of a boy, so there's that difference. I'm definitely looking forward to finishing this up, hopefully by the end of the week, because I did promise the author that I would have this up soon. She did send it to me like 2 months ago, so I have definitely been dragging on picking this up. Not because it's not good, just because I've been reading other things. So I do need to finish this. And yeah, that was all 12 books that I completed during the month, and the 3 that I started during the BookTubeathon. This is a long time coming. I have been filming for 1 hour and 50 minutes. I'm going to have to cut out so much. Reviews are awful. I am so bad at them. That's why I like writing them, because speaking is hard. Words. Anyways, let me know down below what you read in the month of July. Did you participate in the BookTubeathon? How did you guys do? Let me know all of that down below. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your week. It's time for me to get ready. I'm going to go see The Little Mermaid. I'm so excited. It's going to be an outdoor play, which I'm happy about. I'll take pictures if I can. And yeah, I will talk to you soon. Bye!